The 12 most perfect vegetables to grow in a shady garden. Hey, Golden Garden friends, welcome in. If you've ever sighed at a north-facing balcony, a patio tucked under tall trees, or a side yard that only sees dappled light, this episode is for you. Maybe you're an apartment dweller with pots instead of beds, a busy parent who can only water every other day, a renter on a budget, or a first-time grower told vegetables need full sun. You love houseplants, you crave fresh harvests, and you want winds that fit real life, small spaces, short pockets of time, and gentle light. Today, I'll show you how shade isn't a setback, it's a strategy. We'll move from leafy workhorses that thrive on cut and come again to cool season, climbers that sweeten in soft light, to compact roots that become treasure pulls from containers. Along the way, you'll get exact pot sizes, spacing, and harvest rhythms, simple waterings, rules that prevent drama, and smart swaps, like the one tomato that plays nicely with fewer hours of sun. By the end, you'll have a calm, repeatable plan for turning that underused corner into a steady, delicious supply. If that sounds like the kind of practical, encouraging gardening you want every week, tap subscribe and join the Golden Garden family now. 1. Swiss chard, the effortless green that never quits. Let's start with a plant that feels like a secret every gardener should know, Swiss chard. It's the quiet hero of the shady garden, the kind that doesn't demand attention yet gives all season long. You can almost hear it whisper, "Set me down, give me a little care and I'll handle the rest." In those corners where sunlight slips through leaves or bounces softly off walls, chard stretches wide, collecting every bit of light like it's grateful for what it gets. What I love most is how forgiving it is. If you skip a few watering days, it waits. If your week gets busy, it keeps growing, calm and steady. Snip a few outer leaves and new ones rise from the center like it's proud to show off. Again, the color alone, ruby reds, golds, greens so glossy they look painted, makes any shaded spot glow. For small space growers, chard is your friend. It loves raised beds, big pots, even half-forgotten corners that only get morning light. It's edible art that keeps producing, and the best part? Every harvest feels like a little reward for simply letting nature work with you, not against you. 2. Leaf lettuce. The quick salad that loves gentle light. Now, if chard is your dependable workhorse, leaf lettuce is the sprinter that thrives on simplicity. It doesn't ask for blazing sun, just a few hours of soft morning light, and it will reward you with crisp, tender leaves that look and taste like spring itself. You don't need a sprawling garden bed either. A few window boxes or shallow containers on your patio can become your personal salad station. Lettuce in shade grows slower, yes, but that's its secret strength. The leaves stay cool, sweet, and never bitter. No more wilted edges or scorched hearts, just perfect greens that stay lush even when the days get warmer. Start with little transplants rather than seeds. They're more confident in cooler soil, ready to grow from day one. Once they take root, all you have to do is snip the outer leaves and let the center keep pushing new growth. It's like a living salad bar that refills itself. Mix colors, oak leaf, romaine, even frilly red types, and every harvest will feel like a bouquet. Shade doesn't slow you down here. It simply makes every bite more tender, more refreshing, and more rewarding for your effort. 3. Endive and escarole. The elegant greens with a gentle bite. If lettuce is the soft melody of your salad bowl, endive and escarole add that perfect note of contrast, a touch of bitterness that wakes up your taste buds. These two greens are made for gardeners who like flavor with character. And here's the best part, they adore part shade. In fact, they prefer it. The softer light keeps them from rushing, allowing their leaves to grow broad, crisp, and beautifully textured. They do take their time in the beginning, so patience is part of the charm. Start them indoors if you can, let the seedlings find their rhythm, and then move them into that cool, shady corner. Once settled, they're steady companions, quietly filling out without demanding your attention. You can harvest leaf by leaf or wait for a full head depending on your style. In the kitchen, they transform simple meals. Tossed with olive oil and citrus, they turn an ordinary salad into something that feels restaurant-worthy. Every bite reminds you that shade gardens can produce not just food, but flavor, elegance, and surprise. Growing endive and escarole isn't just about filling space, it's about bringing sophistication to your shady patch. 4. Spinach, the cool weather champion of shady corners. When the sun feels harsh and other greens start to wilt, spinach steps in like the calm, collected friend who thrives under pressure. This is the plant that proves shade can be your greatest ally. It loves the cool, steady environment that dappled light provides, keeping its leaves tender, rich, and vibrant. In a garden with only 2 to 4 hours of sunlight, spinach doesn't just survive, it flourishes. Starting spinach from seed indoors gives it the best beginning. Once those little seedlings have found their strength, tuck them into your shady bed, water them in, and watch the magic unfold. The slower pace actually works in your favor. The leaves develop more flavor, and you can harvest them again and again with that simple cut-and-come-again rhythm that gardeners adore. Imagine stepping outside on a cool morning, brushing aside a few droplets of dew, and gathering a handful of fresh spinach for your omelet or smoothie. That's the quiet joy of growing in the shade. It's peaceful, steady, and deeply rewarding. Spinach reminds us that gardening isn't always about racing the sun. Sometimes it's about finding balance, patience, and beauty in the gentle places. 5. Kale, the steady soul of the shade garden. Every garden needs an anchor, and in the shade, that anchor is kale. It's strong yet humble, resilient yet graceful. Kale doesn't rush, it grows with patience, savoring the cooler air and the gentle light that filters through the trees. When the sun beats down too harshly for other greens, kale keeps its composure, staying tender and flavorful instead of turning bitter. Plant it in early spring or as summer fades into fall and watch it unfold leaf by leaf, each one deep green and full of life. In partial shade, kale's colors seem even richer, almost glowing against the soft backdrop of filtered light. Give it steady moisture, a little space to breathe, and it will reward you for months on end. You can harvest the lower leaves while the top continues to grow, giving you a constant living supply. And when that first cool breeze of autumn rolls through, don't be surprised if the flavor turns a little sweeter. That's kale's way of thanking you for the shade. It's the quiet achiever of the garden, strong, nourishing, and always dependable. In every sense, kale is the steady heartbeat of a thriving shady patch. 6. Peas, the gentle climbers that sweeten in soft light. There's something almost poetic about growing peas in the shade. They don't demand the spotlight. They simply reach, twist, and climb with quiet confidence. Peas love those mild, cooler moments of the day when sunlight filters through leaves and walls, wrapping everything in calm. That's why they thrive in partial shade, giving you pods that are crisp, sweet, and bursting with freshness. Start with the seeds themselves, round, solid, full of promise. Tuck them gently into the soil, give them even moisture, and let them find their way upward. Their delicate tendrils will seek out any support you offer, a fence, a trellis, or even a net strung across your balcony. And when the first flowers bloom, you'll know the magic has begun. Each pod you harvest feels like a gift, fresh, green, and glowing with life. Pick them often, and they'll reward you with more. In a shady garden, peas bring motion and softness, turning still corners into living walls of green. They're proof that beauty and abundance can climb together even in the gentlest light. 7. Radishes, the bright little rebels of the shade. Next up, let's talk about a vegetable that loves to surprise you, radishes. They may look small and simple, but in a shady garden they turn into quiet overachievers. Where most roots crave sunlight, radishes settle happily into cooler soil and softer light, taking their time to grow plump and crisp. That slower rhythm actually deepens their flavor and keeps their texture wonderfully snappy. Sow the seeds directly where you want them, give them just enough moisture, and let them do their thing. You'll notice how easily they adapt, how patiently they swell beneath the soil while their leafy tops stay bright and tidy. And when you pull them, those tiny bursts of red, pink, or white, you'll feel that satisfying tug of accomplishment. In the kitchen, they're endlessly versatile. Slice them fresh into salads, roast them for a buttery flavor, or pickle them to add a little sparkle to your meals. Shade gives radishes a chance to grow with grace instead of haste. They don't need perfect light, they just need you to give them a chance. Small, colorful, and full of character, radishes are the rebels that prove every garden corner has hidden potential. 8. Green onions, the easygoing flavor makers of the shade. If you've ever wanted a plant that gives you flavor on demand without demanding much in return, green onions are your go-to friends. They're simple, steady, and surprisingly content with soft, filtered light. Unlike their bulb-forming cousins that crave full sun, these slender greens are perfectly happy in partial shade, focusing their energy above ground, where it matters most for your kitchen. Plant them close together, water them gently, and they'll reward you with a fresh supply of mild onion flavor that never feels overpowering. You can snip the outer leaves whenever you need a handful, leaving the center to regrow. It's like having a self-renewing garnish bar right outside your door. And the best part? The cooler shade keeps them tender, crisp, and full of color even when the rest of the garden starts to wilt. Whether you toss them into a soup, sprinkle them over scrambled eggs, or use them to brighten a salad, green onions are the quiet heroes that bring freshness to every meal. They remind you that not every crop needs the spotlight. Some just shine softly right where they are. Chapter 9. New potatoes, the creamy treasures hidden in the shade. Now, here's a little secret that surprises even seasoned gardeners. Potatoes don't always need full sun to reward you. In fact, they can quietly thrive in partial shade, especially when you grow them for what we call new potatoes. These are the young, thin-skinned treasures that you harvest. Early, buttery, soft, and rich with flavor. They don't need endless hours of blazing light, just patience and gentle care. Plant a few seed potatoes in a deep container or garden bed, cover them lightly, and let them reach toward the soft light. When the plants begin to flower, that's your cue. Gently dig your fingers into the soil, and you'll feel those smooth little gems waiting beneath the surface. Pull a few, cover the rest, and let the others keep growing. It's like discovering buried treasure every week. The shade keeps the soil cooler and moist, protecting your harvest from stress and sun scorch. And when you finally cook those tender, buttery potatoes fresh from the earth, you'll taste the difference that patience and softness can bring. Growing new potatoes in shade isn't about quantity, it's about savoring quality, simplicity, and the quiet joy of the garden's hidden gifts. 10. Bush beans, the quiet performers of the partial shade. When most people think of beans, they picture endless sunlight and tall climbing vines. But bush beans, they're the gentle rebels of the family, compact, calm, and perfectly content with just a few hours of a solid light each day. In the dappled corners of your garden or along the brighter edge of shade, they'll still flower, set pods, and fill your hands with tender, flavorful harvests. What makes them so special is their adaptability. Even if sunlight only kisses your garden for a short window each morning, bush beans will use every minute wisely. Keep their soil evenly moist, give them a little space to breathe, and they'll quietly get to work. Before long, you'll see delicate blooms, then slender pods that promise meals full of freshness. The trick is to pick often, don't wait too long. Each harvest encourages more pods, keeping the rhythm alive. And if you're growing in containers, try rotating them every few days so each side gets its share of light. It's a simple act that keeps your plants balanced and productive. Bush beans remind us that even in the softest light, abundance finds a way to grow. 11. Short carrots, the little jewels hidden beneath the shade. If you've ever pulled a carrot from the soil, you know the quiet thrill it brings. A tiny burst of color, a crunch, that feels alive. And here's the lovely truth, you don't need blazing sun to enjoy that magic. Short carrot varieties like Parisian or Thumbelina thrive beautifully in partial shade, where the soil stays cooler and the roots grow sweet, crisp, and full of gentle flavor. In those softer light conditions, they don't rush to finish. They take their time, forming smooth, round little roots that fit perfectly in containers or raised beds. Every few weeks, you can sow a new handful of seeds, keeping your harvest rolling through the season. The shade helps the greens stay lush and vibrant while protecting the roots from the stress of heat and dryness. When it's time to harvest, brushing the soil away feels like uncovering tiny buried treasures, each one unique, bright, and delicious. Roast them whole with a drizzle of honey, toss them raw into salads, or simply admire their cheerful colors before they hit the plate. Short carrots remind us that beauty in the garden often grows quietly beneath the surface, waiting for patient hands to find it. 12. Turnips, the humble roots that quietly shine in shade. And finally, let's end with one of the most underestimated gems of the shady garden, turnips. They're simple, unassuming, and yet when grown in gentle light, they reveal their sweetest side. In partial shade, turnips grow at an easy, steady pace, their bulbs forming smoothly. Underground, while their leafy tops stay tender and bright. It's as if the softer light allows them to relax and show their best qualities. Plant the seeds directly into cool, moist soil, and soon you'll see those pale green leaves reaching upward, calm and confident. Give them regular watering and just a touch of care, and before long you'll have both. Delicious greens for sautéing and crisp, mild roots ready to lift from the earth. The slower growth in shade brings out a sweetness you won't find in the rush of full sun. When you pull them, brush off the soil, and hold one in your hand, you'll feel that quiet satisfaction of something wholesome and honest, food grown simply, gently, and with patience. Turnips are proof that the shade isn't empty. It's alive, generous, and full of quiet. Abundance, waiting for those who take the time to look closer. Turning shade into abundance. So there you have it, 12 humble yet extraordinary vegetables that prove shade isn't the enemy of growth, it's the quiet partner that keeps things balanced. Whether you're working with a small patio, a north-facing yard, or a cozy balcony tucked behind tall trees, there's always room for life to flourish. Shade gardens invite you to slow down, to watch the details, to notice how dew clings to spinach leaves in the morning, or how peas curl gently around their trellis like little green dancers. These plants remind us that gardening isn't about chasing perfection or battling the elements. It's about harmony. It's about creating a peaceful rhythm between light and life, patience and reward. Each harvest, no matter how small, becomes a celebration of care and consistency. So if your garden corner only gets a few hours of sunlight, don't give up, lean into it. Try one or two of these shade-loving crops and you'll soon see how much joy grows in the quiet places. And now I'd love to hear from you. What's thriving in your shady corner? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, share your favorite low-light plant, and don't forget to subscribe to Golden Garden for more weekly inspiration, tips, and stories that keep your garden growing no matter how much sun you get.